Hello, everybody. This is Nikki from Motherhood Unfiltered. It's going to be okay. And today I have a guest. Her name is Tiffany Vaughn, and she is going to talk to us about her mental health struggles and strategies that she uses for children with ADHD. Um, and we might get into some little spirituality there. So I think all of that goes hand in hand together. And she does have her own coaching um, that she does and her podcast. So I'm really excited to talk to her today. But before I bring her on, I just want to remind everybody that if you're watching on YouTube, to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to the podcast on audio, then go out to Apple iTunes or go to Spotify and rate and review the podcast. That lets me know how I'm doing, kind of like my report card. So, and I would like for you to share that with someone that you care about. So, without further ado, here is Tiffany. Hi,
Hi.
Tiffany.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. And I know things have been kind of busy for everybody. So I really do appreciate that. So just give us a little bit of a background and kind of go into your mental health journey and the things that you struggle with. And then we can talk about, the kids with ADHD.
Sure. Yeah. So, hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany Vaughn, and I am from a small town just outside of Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Mhm.
And my mental health struggles really started in around 2005, I would say, or sorry, yeah,
Mhm.
2005.
Mhm.
And I was going to school to get my professional accounting designation as a CPA.
Mhm.
And I was taking one class every semester in the evenings and working full time during the day. And I did that for 10 years. And it around the 7, 8 year mark, I started to really struggle with my mental health and with just knowing that I didn't want to be doing that anymore.
Mhm.
But I had gone that far that it was really hard to stop going.
Right.
So that was the real start of my mental health challenge.
So,
So
what were some of the things that you were having trouble with during that time?
well, one thing that I remember distinctly, and it was in the 8th year. I was sitting in the back of a classroom, and I had been going
Mhm.
to this school for 8 years in the evening every
Mhm.
semester. And I remember sitting in the back of this classroom, and it felt like my brain, the only way I can explain it is it felt like my brain just was misfiring. Like it was
Mhm.
like I just wanted to like blurt out stuff at the instructor or people in the room.
Mhm.
Like I was just like, I hate it here. And
Yeah.
you're stupid or like just crazy
Yeah.
things, right? And so I went home that night and I said to my husband and my mom, I phoned my mom and I was like, I gotta quit. Like I'm losing my mind. I'm actually losing my mind.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, just sleep on it and we'll like talk about it more tomorrow. And
Mhm.
so we actually looked into finishing it online so that I wouldn't have
Mhm.
to go into the classroom. And thank goodness at that time they had moved a lot online.
Right.
They had just started doing that. So it was amazing.
Yeah.
So the last 2 years of the program I actually took online, except
Mhm.
for the exams. I would have to go in and do the exams.
Right.
But during
Right.
that process, I knew that there was something really like I was needing desperate help. And
Yeah.
so I that's the first time that I really knew that I needed to seek therapy.
Mhm.
And I didn't find my person right away.
Mhm.
I didn't mesh with the first one, but I did go to another one, and I found that I could talk to him, and
Mhm.
it absolutely helped me tremendously, to the point where I did graduate, I did finish, and
Mhm.
that was a huge accomplishment, right?
Mhm.
So that was my first real experience with a mental health challenge that I didn't know if I was going to get out of it.
Right.
It was that dark for me.
I like that you like when you said your brain was misfiring, that you recognized that something you needed to pay attention to that,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of us will be we missed some of those cues,
Hmm.
right? And then it's too late, you know,
Yep.
and we've already spiraled out of control.
Well, one of
And
the signs was like how I said in the classroom I was wanting to blurt out stuff that
yeah.
continued into my work, where like I'd be sitting in a meeting and like I would want to like it felt like I was getting Tourette's where like I couldn't even hold anything in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so like it got really bad where my brain couldn't even keep up anymore.
Uh-huh.
And so like that's why I knew I needed to get some help right.
Yeah. Do you think that during that time that you were just overwhelmed with work and school and family and yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, so that leads into the next, because during this time that I was finishing my designation, my
Mhm.
husband and I were also trying to have a baby, and it
Oh.
was not working at all. So while working and going to school, we were also doing fertility treatments,
Oh
and
my.
nothing was working at all.
Mhm.
And I was in my early 30s, so
Mhm.
like my age wasn't really a big
Mhm.
factor, but
Yeah.
nothing was working.
Right.
And so that was playing a, a factor in my mental health as well, and my
Yeah.
self-esteem and everything. Um, to the point where we actually needed to go to use IVF,
Uh-huh.
and that didn't work at first either.
Wow.
So there was just a lot of
Yeah.
heaviness on myself and on my husband,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it was just a hard time.
Yeah. I mean, just having wanting to have a baby and trying to have a baby, that is its own level of stress, right? And then having, I mean, I don't know that much about it, but I know that when they, give you injections or whatever, I mean, that affects your hormone,
Oh, do
level.
they?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's no wonder you felt like bursting out sayings and things to whoever, I mean, your body was probably like, I can't take anymore.
No,
Something's got to give.
it
So,
was it was a it was a wild time. Like it just
yeah.
no, it always felt like there was something really heavy going
Uh-huh.
on
Yeah.
in my brain and
Yeah.
just overall.
I always feel like when I get overwhelmed that my brain is on a racetrack.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what I feel like. And it just goes around like I'm at the Indy 500,
Hmm.
and it just keeps going. And sometimes the roaring gets so loud I can't, you know, I just have to go to a quiet place. So I can
Yeah,
totally relate to that. So, okay, so you're having trying to have a baby. So I'm assuming that you and your husband finally did have a baby, right?
we did. It took 5 years. But we did end up having our beautiful daughter Avery.
Mhm.
She's 14 now.
Oh
Um,
Lord.
yep, and yeah, it was amazing.
Uh-huh.
Um, but right away with her, even though it was we wanted this for so long, right
Mhm.
away there was something just a little bit off,
Mhm. Yeah.
and like I literally could not go to the washroom or do anything without her with
Yeah.
me. There
Mhm.
was just a lot of stuff that looking back now, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, we were trying to decide if we were gonna have another. We had embryos left over,
Mhm.
but they didn't work. We
Mm.
tried them and they didn't work. So what we were faced with was try the whole thing over again,
Mm,
or
mhm.
just be very happy with our one child.
Right.
And it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And our my in-laws were so wonderful and they lent us the money. So we
Mhm.
tried again.
Mhm.
And this time it worked much better because we ended up with twin boys. And so we wanted one more and we got two. So which is so wonderful.
Boy,
But
I bet you got stories to tell.
oh, do I? Do I? Do I? Do I? The first year was, I tell everybody this, the first year was so bananas and
Uh-huh.
so tiring that
Mhm.
I only remember anything based on pictures. That's it.
I think all new mothers are like that.
Oh, it was, there was a lot of times where like we had like people there helping with us,
Yeah.
and like a baby would be in one corner of the house and the other would be in another, and there'd be empty bottles. Like it would look like a frat party, but like with empty
A
bottles.
baby frat party.
Yeah, it was insanity. But so it was really, really tiring.
Mhm.
Where we lived at that time was a small town, another small town just outside of Calgary, that
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of options for childcare,
Mm.
especially twin babies. And
Mhm.
my husband and I are both professionals, so it was either I stay home or we get a live out or live in nanny.
Mhm.
And I was not staying home because I was ready to go back. To be real. So we ended up finding a live-in nanny
Oh, okay.
who joined our family, and she
Mhm.
was a saint. And she lived with us for just over about 2.5 years.
Mhm.
So she was with us until the boys were about 2.5,
Mhm.
almost 3.
Mhm.
So during that time, it was heaven. Like
Yeah.
we went to work and we got home and like all 3 of the kids were like in their pajamas, bathed, fed, you name it.
Yeah.
It was heaven. And then when she decided to move on,
Mhm.
that's when it was, oh, hi.
Oh, are you
Keep going.
there?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here.
you can keep going.
So that's when reality set in.
Mhm.
And she was definitely, I think, shielding a lot from us in terms of stuff that might have been going on during the
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Because as soon as she left, we either had to find another nanny or
Mhm.
put them in daycare and day homes or whatever. But
Right.
again, we had moved to another small town, not a lot of nanny options.
Right.
So we ended up putting them in a daycare.
Mhm.
And that lasted about 3 days. And we got a call saying, "No, they cannot be together. Like, we can't have them here because 'cause they're
Mhm.
just like, it was wild." And so we actually made a decision at that time to separate our boys into 2 different day homes. And that
Oh.
was when they were, like, 3.5 years old. And so, like, but leading up to that, we got a report or a write-up or a complaint or something every single day almost. Like, every time we went to go pick them up, it was
Mhm.
there was something going on with them.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
so then I was told by somebody that I know, like, "Maybe you should take them to their pediatrician and give them
Uh-huh.
all the paperwork that you have and see what
Mhm.
they think." Well, I sent all that paperwork in because it was stacks,
Oh
and
gosh.
immediately they were all diagnosed with ADHD.
Aw.
all of them, and ODD, oppositional defiance disorder.
Yeah.
And so that was a holy crap.
Yeah.
I didn't even really know what it was. Like
Yeah.
our daughter had been diagnosed with it a couple of years earlier,
Uh-huh.
but didn't really even pay attention because
Right. Yeah.
I was taking care of twin babies. And I was
Yeah.
just like, no, mm-mm.
Mhm.
Um, and so anyway, that and everything that went into trying to keep them in daycares, day homes, you name it,
Mhm.
it took its toll on my mental health and my husband's
Oh,
as well.
yeah. Yeah.
Where we live is 45 minutes from where we work. And so if we got
Mhm.
a call, like we would have to like rush home to
Yeah.
like it. So we were trying to do our management positions
Yep.
as well as deal with this. And it was
Mhm.
just like, no.
It is a lot for somebody, well, two people to handle, you know.
Yeah.
Do they find that babies who were conceived from IVF have a higher, um, like, do more of them get like some kind of disorder like ADHD or
No,
ODD or
I
whatever?
don't think so. It
Okay.
is very hereditary. And
Oh, okay.
after learning about ADHD and
Yeah.
everything that goes into it, my husband was clearly clearly ADHD and not diagnosed. I
Yeah.
think I may even have a bit of it. Like it, there's a lot
Yeah.
in his family too,
Yeah.
and so, but it was the unknown and
Mhm.
the not knowing how to deal with the loud and the chaos and the constant
Yeah.
like having one with ADHD is something, but like
Yeah.
all of them have it. And
Mhm.
I was trying to like figure out like how to deal with one child when there was two others and it was like
Yeah.
constant chaos.
Oh my. Poor
So
you.
one day one day I had had enough. And
Mhm.
again, I got to that point where my brain, it was just in overwhelm. And
Mhm.
I went and I hid behind clothes in my closet because I was
Yeah.
trying to hide from them.
Yeah.
And I was sitting behind those clothes in my closet. I can like chuckle
Mhm.
now, but I was just like, I am
Yeah.
sitting behind the clothes in my closet hiding from my kids.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
I used
But
to hide in the bathroom.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to hide somewhere.
Yeah.
And but it was also at that point where I had the thought, I can't do this anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
I can't deal. Like, and it was in that closet
Uh-huh.
where I got really, really, really angry for the first time
Yeah.
at God that like it
Mhm.
took 5 years to get our daughter and then
Yeah.
another 5 years to get our boys. So 10 years
Mhm.
of struggles.
Yeah.
And now we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
what?
what are you doing to me?
What are you doing? Like, I don't
Yeah.
get it. Like, I'm a good person. And oh, I was so angry and just
Uh-huh.
done that. But I also knew in that moment that I could never do that. I could never leave. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I had that knowing again that it was
Mhm.
time to go
Mhm.
and see somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. Well, my daughter, because we had her in play therapy,
Mhm.
her therapist was the play therapist, and she was actually training to be therapy for adults too. and and I gravitated towards her like
Oh, yeah. I bet.
immediately. And from day one, like I started seeing her by myself as well.
Mhm.
And I call her my Jenna,
Mhm.
and she is my Jenna, and
Mhm.
she literally like helped me in so many
Mhm.
ways. She is the one who said, you know, you're supposed to do something with this pain.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do something with all of this. This isn't
Yeah.
meant for you just to go through
Mhm.
and not share with anybody.
Mhm.
And so she said, like, have you ever thought of writing a book? And I said, yes, I have, because I got a lot of stories. And but then I said, but I've been thinking about starting a podcast. And And she said, that would be great. And so one day I actually went on in the middle of the night on Amazon and I ordered a microphone, and it sat in the box for months because I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, nobody's going to listen to me or my story or, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I talked to my husband and I said, and because I wanted him to be completely on board, or I
Yeah.
wasn't doing it because it's his
Mm-hmm.
story too.
Right.
I wrote out the notes for the first 4 or 5 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and I read them to him, and he's like, "You're doing it. You got to do this." So that's where my podcast, Hard Beautiful Journey,
Mm-hmm.
came about, and it started out telling our story, and I was literally going to be fine with 4 to 5 episodes and then
Yeah.
call her and but it kept going and going, and I have 75 episodes now,
Yeah.
talking with other people about their hard beautiful journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on a hiatus right now doing it.
Right.
Actually writing a book right now, the second part of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But this book is about myself and my brother. And
Yeah.
my brother passed away last October, almost a year ago, from a
Mm-hmm.
fentanyl drug overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And he had so many mental health struggles
Yeah.
and unresolved trauma and
Mm-hmm.
addictions. And so this book is going to be about generational trauma
Yeah.
and what can happen when we don't seek out the help that
Yeah.
we need, and
Mm-hmm.
certain things that came about, and just our story and our
Right.
relationship.
Right. Well, I knew that, about your brother, but I didn't want to bring it up unless you were comfortable, talking about that. But I feel like with, your own struggles and with your children and your brother, that we struggle through these things and we don't have the tools or the skills to deal with them.
Mhm.
And then the worst happens, right? And so I feel like you doing the, having your podcast, doing your book is, helping other people that are going through the same thing that you have went through,
Mhm.
you know, and you being in that closet. I mean, like it took me back to a time when the first time I locked myself in the bathroom, my kids were outside my door, wanting to get in. I had, raised 3 boys, and I was just bawling. I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do because these
Mhm.
kids are crazy. you know,
They sure can be.
I, I started calling them spawns of the devil, and they
Yep.
just thought that was the coolest thing ever, and
Yep. Uh-huh.
and I mean, we have our own stories, and they're all adults now, but and actually, once they got through puberty, they calmed down like
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
But before that, I told him, I was like, we made it out alive. Like, I always think of us like in survivor mode, coming out of the
Absolutely.
woods, right? You know,
The show Survivor is exactly parented. Oh my god.
I know.
It is unbelievable. Yeah.
So, what would be some good advice for someone whose kid is, you know, acting crazy? And I mean, we all know, kids are, rambunctious and excited and hyper. But I mean, what would advice that you give? Hey, if you see this, you need to pay attention to that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Well, for my daughter, she's combined type ADHD, so
Mm-hmm.
hyperactive, both everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the boys are sorry, I just lost my train of thought. The boys are not hyperactive. They cannot keep focus on anything.
Yeah.
And sorry, and so my mom and I actually went out to uh, conference where
Mhm.
there was a doctor speaking who has ADHD, and he has a son that has ADHD. So
Yeah.
he gave us so many strategies and tips
Mhm.
that we just were floored. Like that is
Mhm.
where we actually learned, okay, when you see, you ask them to go and put on their socks in the morning.
Mhm.
And from going from, like, say they're in the living room to their bedroom, they stop like 5 times in different places and do
Yeah.
that is a sign. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it's a because they're not keeping focus on
Right.
what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Their executive function is not like, "Ooh, I can't go from here to here. I have to go
Mhm.
here, 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 here,"
Yeah.
right? That there's a million examples like that, like even
Yeah.
just getting ready for school in the morning,
Mhm.
and that was a whole thing. So
Mhm.
we have countdowns. So my kids cannot handle transition periods unless they're
Yep.
notified. They
Yep.
need to have a notification period,
Yep.
meaning, okay, we're leaving in 10 minutes from now.
Yep.
It prepares their brain to shift and to move into a new
Yeah.
task.
Yep.
And so then I'll say, okay, we're leaving in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And their brain starts to formulate what they need to do in the 5 minute period.
Mhm.
And okay, we're leaving in 2 minutes. And
Mhm.
it literally, that countdown,
Mhm.
sometimes we start at 15 minutes, depending on how big the activity is we're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but the countdown has literally changed our morning
Yeah.
and getting out the door, because for the longest time we were just yelling at them like,
Mhm.
"Get ready, get your shoes on. What are
Yeah, we
you
gotta
doing?
leave.
We
What,
gotta go. We gotta go."
Yeah.
And but we couldn't put it together that they couldn't deal with transitions.
Right.
And so, like, that was a huge one for us.
Right.
And it went over into school too, where
Mhm.
they need transitions to move from one class to the next.
Mhm.
The teacher has to give them their countdown there as well.
Mhm.
Um, if you change their schedule and say you're going to go grocery shopping and then you change your mind, not a good idea.
I know. The one
Mm,
thing that helped me with my oldest was, when I was talking to him and he's looking at me, but you can tell he's far away.
yep,
So I would put my hands up by his face and I would say, "Look me in the eye." And he would look at my hands instead of look at my eyes.
that is the exact same thing that I did with
Yeah.
one of our sons, because
Uh,
it's same thing. Like he couldn't focus on you.
yeah.
And as soon as you say, no, Ryder, focus here, 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 here. And like you get them to focus in, and then they kind of come out of it,
Yeah.
whatever they're focusing on, right?
Right, right.
But yeah, it's
Well,
I could go on for hours about the strategies, but I think it's more just knowing
uh-huh.
when there's a lack of attention.
Yeah,
That was a big sign for us, is they couldn't keep attention on things.
right. I think the one thing I learned going through that was I had to be more intentional with his routine,
Hmm.
like you said. Now, before, when we did our transition, did one thing and switched to another, I knew it was going to be a mess. So I did not want to tell him about it. Like I would just pick him up and go, and he's like, he's freaking out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which was the worst thing you can do. So it took me a long time. I ended up, he was in therapy. I was in therapy too for parents with kids, who had ADHD. So I can definitely relate to everything that that you've had to go through. And so, and having routines, that was the big thing, was having a routine,
Yep.
and it is a struggle. So how can people reach out to you if they would like to get in touch with you about coaching, or or when you are finished with your book?
Absolutely everything. You can find me at hardbeautifuljourney.com, and
Mhm,
you can reach out on there, or Hard Beautiful Journey on Facebook, on Instagram. Just
mhm.
send me a message, and yeah, I'm always open to talking with anybody about any of their mental
Mhm.
health or struggles with
Right.
ADHD, because it can be lonely, very, very lonely,
Yeah.
and it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be. It really
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, and there's so many, things that, people don't if they don't understand the disorder. I was part of a church when they were, little, and they're just like, "Well, you just need to he just needs punished."
Mhm,
I'm like, "He doesn't even understand." And for the longest time, I didn't wanna put him on medication, and my mom was like, "Listen, Nikki, how do you think he feels? He can't even control himself."
mhm,
And I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even think of how he was feeling. I was just thinking about how I was gonna feel."
mhm.
So
Yep,
anyway, and those are just some of the things, that, we have to make decisions on and think about. But I am so glad that you took the time out to talk to me today, and I hope that, in the future you will come back on and we can have another conversation, especially,
absolutely.
once your book is out. And
Yes.
like you said, if you have kids that have this disorder, there are tons of stories,
Mhm,
you know.
mhm.
And if you're once you're going through them, you just want to cry. But now, like mine are adults now. I try to laugh about it because if not, I'll cry
Mhm.
because it takes you right back to that moment when those things happen.
Absolutely. I would say too, like, being a few years down the road now, it
Hmm.
really does get easier.
Yep.
It really does, and if somebody would have told me that 4 years ago, I wouldn't have believed them. So, I
Yeah.
completely understand if people are saying, "No, I don't believe you,"
Right.
because I wouldn't have either,
Right.
because it was chaos.
Yeah.
But there are people that have been there and can just listen, because
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to vent and
Hmm.
get it
Yep.
out, and then
Yeah.
you can reset, right?
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well, I thank you so much for talking about this, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.